Hi, my name is Jessica Bayhall, and I'm with Great Rivers Regional System for Addiction Care, and we are continuing our Recovery Month. This is My Story series. Recovery Month is throughout the entire month of September, and we have had the privilege of talking to some amazing people in recovery. And today I'm super excited because this has been a year in the making. But this is a really good friend of mine, Brooke. I'm so happy. Her mom actually participated in our first round of This Is My Story and was one of our family members that told her story. So if you want to go back and look, you can definitely go back and look up Lori's story. But we're going to get the other side of this story. There's two sides to every story. Today we're going to hear Brooke's side of her story because it's her story to tell. Lori told hers, and now Brooke is telling hers. And so I am so thankful for Brooke and for her willingness to share. And so Brooke, thank you for joining me today. And it's your turn.
Okay. I don't really know how to begin, but I'm Brooke, and she kind of explained who I am. My clean date is June 22nd, 2015. And when I was in treatment and people told their stories, they always said, you always say, like who you were then and then who you are now and like how it changed you. So I'm not gonna try to bore you with like everything, but I want to like show a little bit of how it excelled to there and then how I got out of the situation. So my childhood was normal. I mean, I don't know if it's normal. I don't really know what normal is, but I mean, I grew up like I had a grandpa that was a pastor, an uncle that was a pastor. I was in church a lot. My parents were divorced. So my mom had me and my brother a lot by herself. And if you go back and watch her story, she'll tell you about all the multiple boyfriends she had and, how she thinks that affected me. So I dealt with that. My mom was a good mom, but she did have, a man thing. So I did see that a lot. And then my dad got me like every other weekend, and it didn't really start with too bad of stuff till I got in like middle school and high school. But when I was younger, my mom thinks that I had like addictive tendencies, which is kind of weird, like addictive behaviors. Like I would do things like go take a whole pack of Oreos in my room and eat them and like hide it and not want anyone to know. Like I would lie about it. And my brother and them all make fun of me because one time, I mean, it's sad, but it's funny now. Like one time I ate a bunch of ice cream sandwiches, and then my mom was like, "What happened to the ice cream sandwiches?" I said, "I gave them to all the neighbor kids," but really I ate them all. And I was young and I was lying about that. So I know it's weird to say, but it kind of plays into my, addictive behaviors, like because I was using food to fill a void because, I was a chubby little girl. I got picked on a lot. I had big buck teeth and I had all these feelings. And then I had my mom and dad divorced. And I think it started young when I was trying to fill some kind of void in myself. So that's why I always tell that part of my story, because you can see it from a child, like, you can see it progress. When I got into high school, I got a boyfriend, and we started smoking weed, and I didn't really think anything of it. And, then it led to partying a lot, and I would go to my dad's house and see my dad wasn't involved in church. And I don't blame him for anything, but he would start to let me drink at his house and let me smoke weed with him. And he's like, "Well, you can do it here, but you can't go anywhere else." So I kind of started to think that like smoking weed and drinking as a teenager was okay and it was acceptable. because, my dad's let me do it. So I don't see the big deal. But my mom, on the other hand, she was not okay with it. So it kind of started with that. In high school, like I said, I graduated high school. I was normal kid. I mean, I didn't get in too much trouble. I just smoked weed and drank and, partied with friends. Typical high school stuff that happens. And then it wasn't until I graduated high school I met my first son's father. I have 3 kids. Um, I met my first son's father, and that kind of went downhill. We were partying every weekend, drinking, smoking weed. Again, I was still in that behavior. I had graduated high school though. And once I got with him, and we started doing that, I ended up getting pregnant. And, my mom kept telling me, "You're going to get pregnant. You're going to get pregnant." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not going to get pregnant." Well, I did. And I was 18. And the whole time I was pregnant, he partied all the time. He wasn't there for me. He left me. He was cheating and everything. Oh, hold on. Why is this happening? Sorry. So when I was pregnant, I started getting really depressed because, again, I was trying to fill a void. I thought, here I am pregnant right out of high school, and he doesn't want me. And, I got really, really depressed. Like, I got really big. I was eating again like crazy, and like just using food to fill my void. I got really high blood pressure, and I got put on bed rest for a while. And I just got really, really down at that time. So move forward, because this is when it all begins. I'm in the hospital getting ready to be induced to have Brody. And I'm trying to get a hold of his dad, and I don't know where he is. So then I'm in labor, all I'm wanting is him to be there, but I do have my mom with me. I was actually by myself for most of the night because he was supposed to show up and he didn't. And so my mom came, and then when he came, he got there and he started throwing up in my bathroom and while I was in labor, like in my bathroom in my hospital room. And I was like, "Are you okay? Like, what is wrong with you?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I think it's nerves or something. Da da da. Like, I don't know what's going on." I was like, "Okay." So then he's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to go home, but I'll come back in the morning and I'll stay here the whole time." So I was like, "All right." Well, little did I know that that's not what was going on, because I was oblivious. I had never been around, any type of pain pills or illicit. Well, I'd been around weed, but that was like the only drug that I'd been around. So he goes home. I have the baby, and he came back. Well, he got back before I actually pushed him out. But once he came back, I thought he was fine. I thought he was okay. He didn't look very good, but he was okay. So I had the baby, and then I thought everything was fine. Everything was good. And then I just started noticing like odd behaviors. Like he wanted to leave like a couple hours after I had him, said he had to go help his friend with something. I was like, okay. It was just very weird. Anyway, I ended up just looking over it because, again, I didn't know to think anything of it. And we ended up going to my mom's. We took Brody home. We get to my mom's, she was like, "Well, he can stay here for a couple weeks or on and off to help you, but he can't live here." And I'm like, "Okay." But of course, all I wanted was to like be with him. So it started getting really weird whenever they sent me home with a prescription of Percocets, and I was taking those as prescribed, and he started asking me for them, and I'm like, okay. And Little did I know he was already in addiction, and I was giving them to him because he was like, "Oh, my back hurts. My back hurts. I need these." And I'm like, "All right." So I kept giving them to him, and I ended up giving him the whole bottle. Well, that was crazy because he left, and then I found out that I got a call that Brody had cystic fibrosis. So that was a big shock to me. Like, I just had so much going on at one time, like so many emotions, and I didn't know what to do. And I ended up getting in a big fight with my mom because I wanted to go and live with him at his grandma's. I wish now that I would have never done that and I would have stayed with my mom, but I did. And after that, it got really bad. I went to live with him. We lived with his grandma, his dad at the time, his great grandma, his two brothers, and I believe his mom was there some, and we were all in like a 3-bedroom house. So I didn't know what to think. The whole family was a mess, but I didn't know what to think. So I thought, I'm just going to stay with him. We're going to have the baby. Everything's going to be fine. Then I started seeing more behaviors, just different things. And one day I walked in the bathroom and caught him smoking a pill in aluminum foil. And I was like, what is happening? Because I had no idea. I'd never done anything like that. Didn't know, what it was. So I decided one day, like, because after I caught him, he didn't care to do it in front of me. So then his friend was there one day doing it. And I decided one day, I was like, I'm going to try that. Because his friend said, "Here, do you want some?" And that's how it all begins. And I'm not blaming anybody else because I made the choice to do it. But, it just all begins with, do you want to try it one time? Little did I know, me trying that one time would lead to me being full blown addicted to it. So I tried it one time, and I feel like, the first time I did that, I felt something like I'd never felt before. I felt okay. I felt like I didn't care about anything. I felt numb. I felt like I didn't have any problems. And I was like, well, this could be harmless. I don't see anything wrong with this. Well, it got worse, as it goes. I started doing more and more and more. And I started lying to people. My mom would wonder what was wrong with me. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. And people kept questioning. You can always see the behaviors. It happens, it changes your behavior. It did for me. I started lying, like sneaking around people, not going to appointments, not going to family events, not taking care of myself. Come to Brody being like, I think 8 months old. At that point, I started realizing what withdrawal symptoms were. So here I am with a newborn baby that has lung disease, and I'm neglecting to care for him like I should. So I didn't know what to do anymore because I didn't want him to suffer because of what I was going through. And I ended up telling my mom what was going on with me. And I said, look, I'm going to go to treatment. This all happened like within a year of me using. Like, I got bad really quick. And I was like, I'm going to go to treatment. Will you watch Brody for me and I'll come back and get him when I'm done? And she was like, yeah, sure. So I went to Prestera in Huntington, which was detox. And I stayed for like 3 days. And Brody's dad went in with me too. Then we were in separate like places in there because you can't like be in there together as a couple. And I called home to his house and he picked up the phone. And I didn't know he'd left. So as soon as I heard him being home picking up the phone, I was like, come get me. So I left and I didn't go back to get Brody. I wanted to, but I just felt so ashamed at that point. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to let my mom have him until I can figure myself out. And I'm trying to think about how things went because it's been so long. Um, so my mom eventually, you know, started getting upset with me and everything, and she filed for temporary guardianship. Well, I did get the papers for the court hearing. I drove to the courthouse and I parked. And when I got there, I cried in my car and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't even go in there. Like I didn't go in. I didn't even attempt to. I didn't even attempt to fight it. And she got, guardianship of him, full guardianship. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't try. I was ashamed. And so it just got worse. I mean, I ended up um losing touch with her. She didn't know if I was dead or alive. Um, and I just started pawning stuff. Like Brody's dad would go steal stuff, I would go pawn it. I didn't know that that could catch you a criminal charge. Um, so that happened, and just the typical things. Stealing. I lived in an abandoned house in Cross Lanes, which is now burnt down. Every time I pass it, like I have like my heart sinks a little bit. And I lived in there for about a month or two. And I was one of those people, I guess, that, you know, working with addicts today, like the ones that have like a stable house and money and stuff, it's harder to hit. Everybody's bottom is different, but it's harder like to hit rock bottom. I feel like if you have all those things still given to you, like I got cut off of everything. I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have money. I tried to work jobs during that time, but I could never keep a job, obviously. Um, it's just I just lost everything so quickly, like within a 2 year span from 2013 to 2015. That's the time frame I used. And I'm just saying it's crazy because some people use for years and years, and some people like me use for a year or two and they catch it. So it ended up Brody's dad and I had already had a warrant for our arrest because of the things that I pawned and the things he stole. The person knew who we were. And then we were with some friends, I guess you want to call them. And the girl that we were with was kind of out of it. Like she was driving, she was like nodding out. Well, we had her to drop us off, and his dad, I don't want to say names or anything, but his dad reached down into the side of her car door and grabbed her wallet when she was dropping us off, and he took off. And he was like running, and I didn't know he had done it. And I get out of the car and I'm like, "Why are you running?" He's like, "Just come on." So she left, and when we got up to the road, like she dropped us off across from the abandoned house that we were living in. And we started walking. She left. Well, he took all the money out of her wallet. Then I saw he stole her wallet, and then he tossed the wallet in the bushes right across from the abandoned house we were at. So, we go and buy what we wanted to buy with her money, and we went back in the abandoned house. Well, she ended up obviously realizing her wallet was gone. She realized that we took it, and she called the police, took them back to where she dropped us off, and they found the wallet. And then here I am in this abandoned house, and I didn't know what was going on. But at this point, I just felt like I didn't want to live anymore. Um, I felt like there was no hope for me, like nothing was going to change, nothing was going to get better. Well, all of a sudden, the cops pull in down into the driveway of the abandoned house, and they come up to get us. Well, Brody's dad laid on the floor, put his hands behind his back. He was ready to go. I went and hid in the closet because I'd never been arrested before. I'd never been in trouble. And the cops came to find me in the closet, and I said, "Please don't hurt me." I didn't know what they were going to do to me. Like, I literally had never been in trouble like that ever. and I was scared to death. Well, they, took me and him to jail. I wasn't charged yet, but my charges were simple possession, transferring, receiving stolen property, and petty larceny. So I didn't really know what none of those meant. And they ended up sending me to South Central with him. So here I am in this little holding cell, wondering, what my life has become. They wouldn't even give me a pair of pants. I'm in shorts. I'm freezing. I'm scared to death. I go in this little pod thing with this lady, and there's a bug crawling on the floor. Like, I'm just freaking out. Because like I said, I didn't grow up like in a bad home. Like, I always had what I wanted. Everybody was clean and not scary. And I'm in there like scared to death because I'm literally 19, 20 years old. Never been to jail, and I didn't know what to do. So I just covered my head up with my blanket and went to sleep. And I woke up. There's all these people staring at me, asking me if I'm going to eat my breakfast. I was like, no. I just was scared to death. Like, literally, I didn't know what to do, where to turn. And I just remember like just laying there, and I was just praying to God. I was like, please just, help me. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't want to live anymore. Please just help me. Like, my life's a mess. And they called my name. He's in the holding cell beside of me. And we'd actually tried to talk to each other through the toilet bowl. Doesn't work, but we did. I mean, that's how much like I was hanging on to him. Well, they called me out my name. They called my name, and I didn't know like what I was supposed to do. So I like walked out of the cell, and they took me into this room with a camera and a judge in it. And the judge was like, you're being released on a PR bond, you'll have a court hearing, da da da. And I was like, all right. Well, I thought he was coming with me. No, they did not let him out. They let me out, but they did not let him out. He had been in trouble previously. He's had, when I met him, he was on day report. That should have been a freaking red flag right then, but it wasn't. But so I got out, and here I am, like outside of South Central, no clothes, just what I had on my back. I had my cell phone. I didn't even know if it was on. It was at the time. And I'm just standing there like I had nobody. I didn't think anybody cared to come get me. I didn't know anybody that would come get me. So these people walked out the same time as me, and they ended up they ended up asking me if I wanted to come with them, if I needed a ride. So I was like, yeah, sure. Don't know you, don't know anything, but I need a ride somewhere out of here. So I rode with them, and that was like literally probably as scary as being in jail. As soon as we got down the road, they were shooting up heroin, which I hadn't done that. So I didn't know anything about that either. And I'm sitting here scared to death. Like, at this point, I'm starting to get withdrawal symptoms. I'm starting to feel bad. And here I am in these people's car. Like, and I just remember, like, I'm just praying, like, God, please. I know that, I'm not living right. I've done terrible things, but please just get me out of the situation. Please help me. And I ended up getting a hold of my mom. They took me down to the apartments by Westmoreland. Really not a good place. And I'm in this person's apartment, like, and these people start fighting and yelling at each other. This guy has a gun, and I'm like, I have got to get out of here. And I didn't think they wanted me to leave. So I ended up getting a hold of my mom, and she was like, well, you can't live here, but, I'll come get you and we can figure it out, which I didn't think she would even do that, because at that point she was like done with me. So she did come and get me. Thank goodness I did get out of that situation because of God. I know, like, helping me, because I know that he was trying to show me that I could have a better life. But see, at that point, I wasn't completely done yet. I thought I was, but I wasn't. And now from that incident, it only took me about 2 or 3 weeks after that to be really done. But I go to my mom's, and then I realized, I started laying there thinking, like, she wants me to go to rehab, all this stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready yet. And I started thinking, and I was like, wait a minute, there's a tablet and a pill bottle full of drugs at that abandoned house. And that's all I could think about. So I ended up calling a friend of mine that I've been friends with since elementary school. She had no idea what was going on with me. And I pretty much lied to her. I was like, hey, can you come get me from my mom's and take me to this place I was staying to get my stuff? Da, da, da. So she took me there. She took me to the pawn shop. I pawned this tablet, got some money. I had her drop me off on the side of the road and cross lanes, and I took off. And at that point, he was still in jail, and I just wasn't done yet, I guess. So I still didn't have anywhere to live. I couldn't stay in the abandoned house anymore because I felt like people knew where I would be. So I'm just like trying to figure something out. And I ended up calling Birdie's dad's brother. He picked me up. I bought something with the money I had. And I ended up getting a hold of a guy from Detroit. And once I got a hold of him, I met him in Huntington. I was like, hey, you want to front me 20, 30 pills and I'll pay you back? And these people will kill you. Like, the people from Detroit will find you and they will kill you. They don't play around. And he didn't really know me from Adam, but he saw me as, this young little girl, and, oh, she's not going to screw me over, which I had dealt with Detroit people before that, but I didn't go into super detail about all that. I just like to tell you, how it evolved to me getting help. But anyway, so I did that, ended up sitting there, and this was about a week like going on. I was staying here and there, and well, as Brady's dad's still in jail, there is a guy that he's friends with that's in the jail too. Well, I didn't have any money on my phone to talk to him in the jail. Well, the guy that he's friends with's mom ended up calling my phone and doing a three-way and let me talk to him. Well, I will say her name. Her name is Susie Busby, and I still call her my guardian angel because she did this. And I kind of talked to her on the phone for a minute, and she was like, hey, if you want me to, I'll come and get you a phone card and get you some food and stuff. I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I get in this lady's car, don't know her. I have money in my purse. I have drugs in my purse. And at this point, I had drugs, so I wasn't ready to cure anything or get any help. Well, she takes me to Wendy's. I'll never forget it. She takes me to Wendy's, gets me some food, takes me to the Dollar General, gets me a phone card so I can talk to Brady's dad on the phone in jail. And she just starts talking to me. And she's talking to me like a person, talking to me like I am a human and somebody does care about me. And I just lost it. Tears rolling down my face. I just didn't think that anybody cared about me anymore like that. And she's like, well, do you want to call your mom? I was like, yeah, we can call her. And we called her, and then I got to talk to Brody on the phone, and he called me mommy on the phone, and I heard that, and that crushed me too. And I felt all these emotions, and I was crying, and that's when I started to feel like I wanted to get a better life, but I still wasn't done. But see, that one instance of her helping me and showing me that somebody cares, it still changed things for me because she did that. But see, I still had drugs in my purse. So my brain, my addiction was still telling me, you still got all these drugs. You can't go nowhere without going and doing those first. So anyway, I left with her, but all I could keep thinking about was her and how she cared about me. And, this is within a couple days. And within those couple of days, I had a gun put to my head. I was robbed. I almost got ran over. Like, just between her meeting with me to the day I decided to go to rehab was just a couple of days. And I feel like God was trying to show me and open my eyes, like, hey, there's a better life. And bad stuff just kept happening. I lost all my drugs. I lost my purse. I lost all my money. I almost got killed. And that was when I was sitting outside in the middle of cross lanes. It was nighttime. All I had was me and my cell phone. Somehow I still had my cell phone. That was all I had. I ended up messaging my mom and I was like, hey, I think I'm ready. And it took, me meeting with her and knowing somebody still cared about me and knowing that, even the way I was, somebody would still take time out of their day to do something for me. That's why I always tell people now to always try to be kind to addicts, because if you just go, you just never know what you could do to change their life just by one simple, gesture. Don't hate them. Don't, call them names. Don't belittle them. You don't have to give them money. You don't have to give them anything, but you could still just show kindness to them, because that could change their entire perspective in one instance. I mean, you never know. They could go home and kill themselves that evening. So just always, I'm so passionate about that. Like, always be kind. And so anyway, I told my mom I was ready. We went to Thomas, and hold, can you pause it? Sorry. Okay. I go to Thomas, and it was really hard for me to get treatment. Basically, I had to tell them that I was suicidal to even get them to treat me for addiction. And that's what I did. And I got in there, and I mean, I I, I don't know. I got really super sick. They gave me the Vivitrol pill. I still had opiates in my system. Somehow I didn't fail for them. And I got super sick, and I was there for like 7 days. Well, I was in like a locked up part of it with the geriatric people, which I liked that part because I got to hang out with the little old men. And I mean, I didn't really get anything out of that, but I got through like the first part of the detox process. And they kept telling me, they're like, we can't let you leave here unless your mom signed you out. And I was like, but I'm over 18 years old. And they're like, yeah, well, you said you had suicidal thoughts. So, we're not allowed to legally let you leave. Well, my mom told them that the only way that she was going to come get me is if they found a rehab for me to go to. And back in 2015, Recovery Point Charleston for women wasn't a thing. And I mean, there wasn't really anything in this general area, but that was good for me. But they tell me, my mom got a hold of Rachel Thaxton. So she worked with Rachel and Susie to find me somewhere to go. And then these people come to me and they give me these papers, and Thomas, they're like, well, we found you a bed. But it's going to take like 3 months or so because you're on a waiting list. Like, oh, okay. So I'm thinking my mom's going to come and get me and I'm going to leave and I'm not going to have to go. Well, my mom and Susie, and I'm sure like tons of other people prayed about it. And somehow the next day, Liberty Place in Richmond, Kentucky calls the phone. Mind you, I just got put on this waiting list that's like super long, but somehow they call and they're like, hey, we have a bed for her if she can get here by 3 o'clock today. And I was like, what? And then my mom's like, it's all God. It's all God. And I'm just like, whatever, man, like, cause I did have a bad attitude at the time because, I was broken down. I was at my bottom, but I still had a bad attitude because I was still defensive and still was like, whatever. Well, mind you, at Thomas, when I was detoxing, they had a main water break in South Charleston. So I couldn't even take a shower while I'm detoxing. And I felt disgusting. So I was like, Mom, I need to take a shower before you take me to this place. She's like, I don't want you to take a shower. You're going to take off and run away. And I'm like, no, really. Like, I just want to shower. So I got a shower. Here we are on our way. My brother rode with us. It was 3.5 hours to Richmond, Kentucky. I had never been to this place. I knew no one at this place. And I get in there. She drops me off with my stuff, and that was it. And there I am, at a place where they put you in scrubs. As soon as you get there, you can't have makeup. You can't have hair straighteners. You can't have razors for the first 2 weeks. Couldn't even shave my armpits or my legs. I was dying. It was summertime. And because, that was June. I probably got there like June 26th, I think, because I went to Thomas June 22nd. I had last used on June 21st. And then I got there like June 26th or 27th. And I get there, and that place is literally the best thing that ever happened to me. Things started coming together. And I'm telling you, it was not an easy program, but recovery works different for everybody. Some people don't need a place like that. I, however, needed to go somewhere far away, away from everything, and somewhere where somebody's going to tell me exactly what I need to do. And that's what they did there. They tell you when to eat, when to use the bathroom, when to sleep. I mean, everything. So I'm there, and it's really important that I tell you this part. During that time, I have my court hearing, and I'm super nervous. My mom had to drive all the way there one morning early to get me, take me back to Charleston. I had to have my hearing in Charleston, and I had to go back that evening. Couldn't stay overnight or anything. Well, I'm in the courthouse, and I look a lot better. Well, the girl that Brody's dad sold a wallet for him was there because like the charges were from her, I guess, so she had to kind of be there too. And I saw her and I was like freaking out. And I'm sitting in there in the courtroom and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I was in the lobby and my mom's, of course, praying the whole time. Well, my lawyer comes up to me and he's like, hey, you're, I don't even know what it's called. Your victim or whatever they call it came to us and she said that, she saw that you looked really good and we told her you put yourself in treatment and she dropped all the charges. And I was like, wow. And my mom's like crying, she's like, it's all God. It's all God. I'm just like, whatever, man. I'm like, it's just what happened. And then she's like, it's all God. He did this. And then I run into the girl out in the parking garage. Here I am thinking she's ready to fight me or something. And she just gave me a hug and we both just cried. And she was like, I'm really proud of you. And, since then she's actually went through treatment herself. And I've been able to tell her, I'm really proud of you. It's just crazy. But anyway, so all the charges were dropped. I ended up staying at treatment for 9 months, and that place literally changed my life. Um, I came back home. I was able to get a job. Uh, just things started getting better. And, you know, I always tell people like the first year or two of recovery is very difficult because good things happen, but then your past still comes up to haunt you. So you're going through all these things, but things get better. Um, I ended up working at a bank, which I never thought a bank would hire me. I worked at the bank for 4 years. I have had two more kids since I've been in recovery. Um, just things have all come together for me. And I'm now a recovery or peer support specialist at Charleston Treatment Center. And I get to tell people like this stuff. And I did not work in addiction in my early recovery. I worked at the bank for like 4 years, and then I decided I wanted to do it because for me, I feel like I had to be really strong in my recovery to be able to work with people like that. But now when I tell people I have 6 years, they're like, oh wow, you know, that's a that's a good bit of time. And I'm like, yeah, it's possible. But it's only possible because people that care. That's why I always say be kind, God, you know, and just having a good support system. So recovery has basically just given me my entire life back. Um, I still have bad days, and I know that that story is kind of ADD everywhere, but it just went from, me going downhill for 2 years, going to treatment, and then it just went up from there. Um, you know, you can get your charges dropped just like I did. Um, you have to I have to stay involved with people that know about my recovery and help me through it. And I just feel like anything that you go through in addiction can be overcome with recovery. Like they always say that your your best day in addiction is still worse than your worst day in recovery because that's still a bad day. And you know, I had to forgive myself. I had to ask for forgiveness from others, but you can overcome it and everything does get better. Like literally since I got in recovery and stayed clean, everything has just went up from there. And I honestly, that's why I get confused a little bit because sometimes I feel like that part of my life is like a blur. Like I forget that I was even that person, but I have to remind myself where I was. Um, but I don't know if you have any questions for me. I feel like that was kind of weird how I ended that, but you just let me know.
No, nope, no questions. I love that you were willing to just be yourself. I can tell you with 100% certainty that what you saw today is Brooke. Like this is Brooke.
Yeah.
I've gotten to meet Brooke over the last 2 years. Her family is just amazing. I love her and her mother and her little ones. But I think it's also great because just if you listen to her mom's story, you know that while Brooke was in treatment, her mom ended up having this passion and this desire to minister to women in recovery. And so not only does Brooke inspire other individuals who are in recovery, but she's now inspired her mom to give back and to love on other women. Brooke is a part of that program, the Recovery Warriors, that takes place. It's a family thing. We do bonfires and all these fun things, and Brooke and her kids are always there. Her oldest is one that loves to come and sing karaoke every time we have a Recovery Warriors event. He loves to put on a show. And baby Miss Baby Girl Willow, she loves to be passed around and loved on by all these women I mean, it's amazing to be able to not just hear your story, but see your story being lived out, and to just be a very, very small part of that. And so I want to thank you for being willing to share. Like I said, this has been a year in the making.
Yeah, it should
I'm
have.
like, Brooke, when are we going to do this? Brooke, when are we going to do this? I'm going to. So I told her, I was like, Brooke, I really want you to do this for Recovery Month. So we were able to get her. And so, Brooke, I want to say thank you so much. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to tell your story. I want to thank you on the other side of the screen for watching. Remember, September is Recovery Month, and the theme for this year for National Recovery Month is that recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, and every community. And Brooke is just a small part of that story. And so we want to thank you so much. If you have questions about recovery or treatment options in your area, feel free to reach out to Great Rivers. You can look online at Help for WV. You can even call 1-844-HELP-FOR-WV and get options for treatment as well. So Brooke, thank you again for taking the time out, and be on the lookout for more This Is Our Stories. Thanks, guys.